back to another EDH set review. My name is Scott and I have a really interesting one for you today. So it's not an actual set as in terms of a booster box. These are for precons. So they've done a Warhammer Universe Beyond precon set where you get 4 precons. Disclaimer, I am a big Warhammer Fantasy Battles fan before it was Age of Sigma, so the fantasy style of 40k, I guess. I play a lot of 8th edition. I really loved it. Now, so 40k I never really played. I would say that I always leaned more to fantasy over sci-fi, so I just preferred it that way. But I kind of know roughly about 40k, you know, the Venn diagram of that kind of hobby, you know, is pretty close. So if you haven't seen any one of my set reviews before, I only look at mono black. I kind of have a look at where mono black is going, where it has been. I'm expecting this 40k set to be a bit different, but we'll dive right in. So first up is Imitate the Stormlord. So 2 black, 3/3, they're Necron. So whenever one or more artifact creatures leave the graveyard, create 2/2 black Necron warriors. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target artifact creature you control gets +2/+2 and gets menace. Okay, really interesting one. So it's essentially very similar to Tormod, except you get 2/2s and they're not tapped. But you get the caveat that it must be artifact cards leave. So it's not artifact creatures, which is nice. So there are some artifacts you might want to play in here, like Eco Wellspring or something like that you can just use as fodder. The challenge will be A, getting things into your graveyard, B, having them return. Now, artifacts actually have a nice recursion package, and I expect this will be similar to like a Tormod or Conrad kind of deck, but rather than say with Tormod, it's quite zombie focused. You know, this one's going to be artifact creature focused. I have started building this one. I'm having difficulty. It's quite hard actually, because there's a lot of hoops. I want artifact creatures. I want to be able to get them out of the graveyard in some capacity, get them into the graveyard in some capacity, get them out. So getting them out, unearth, flashback, encore, just exiling them in general, as well as just normal reanimation or raise dead kind of effects. So it's difficult. I'm still trying to tweak what is the number, because I think 2/2 Necron warrior artifact creatures is actually really good. Not tapped in any way. Some of these effects can be instant speed. I'm thinking like Tortured Existence, stuff like that. That's nice. The second ability, +2/+2 and menace. Sure, that's nice. It's good to have those artifact creatures that can go into combat. That's nice. But ultimately, I think it's just more about swarming the board. And I think it's probably just going to be like a sacrifice style deck with Disciples of the Vaults and things like that. So very cool. All right, next, Sarek the Silent King. So 1 and 3 black Necron flying. Whenever it attacks, mill 3 cards. You can put an artifact or vehicle, artifact creature or vehicle that was milled this way to your hand. Okay, so it raises dead from what you milled. Yeah, it's a 3/4. Flying's okay, but even a flying 3/4 is probably not gonna, you know, be that scary to people. This one just seems like quite, I guess, boring. All it does is raise dead. It mills, which is nice. I think, you know, this is the face commander of the Necron commander deck. So it's nice. It's like, it's okay. It kind of does a bit, just a little bit of something. It is an attack trigger, which is whatever. I'm not too interested in this one. I think it'll probably be the least popular. I think people are going to pretty much just replace this one with another one. But it might work in the pre-con, okay? So moving on, Henrika the Traveler. So 4 and a black Necron. Whenever it attacks, you may cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard by paying its life instead of its mana cost. And it's 4/4. Super cool. Super cool. So when it attacks, kind of sucks. It is 4/4, no evasion. probably going to die, right? So you're paying 5 mana, then waiting a turn, then attacking and putting hopefully a Blightsteel Colossus into play. But is that even that good? Don't know. I think it's cool. I like paying life for mana. So I like this effect. It's also from your graveyard, so you can mill it, you can entomb it. Things like that. You may cast an artifact spell from your hand or graveyard, so no target. So you can, you know, entomb in response, put something in with the trigger on the stack. But ultimately, it's just probably going to die. So you probably need some protection in some case. But really cool card. I think it's going to be just a bit boring to build around as a commander, but I think you might put this in a deck. So Illuminor Ceres. Okay, 2 and a black, a 3/3 Necron. Tap to sacrifice a creature, add black mana equals to sacrifice creature. So it's good. It's just a creature, so it's not an artifact creature, which is nice. You know, this effect does exist already on a 2 mana creature, but it's not legendary. So you can have this in the command zone, but it's not really something that I imagine I would be excited to build around. But so would I have this over the 2 mana one? Probably not, unless I'm, you know, want to play like legendaries or artifact creatures, then perhaps this works. Or, you know, you just want it like Necrons, right? So you just want this because of Necron. Cool card. I like this kind of effect. I think it's powerful. You do have to wait, obviously, a turn, but it's nice to have it in your command zone so you can ramp up. But then you play this on 3. What creatures have you got that you want to sacrifice, right? So you have to kind of wait until later in the game, get your 6 mana or so. I think it's cool effect, but probably not that interesting. Mortarian Demon Primarch, 5 and a black. So this one's a Demon Primarch. So this one's the only one not in the Necron precon. This is in the Chaos, the Grixis one. Flying. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, create X 2/2 black Astartes warriors creature tokens with menace. X can't be more than a life you lost. So it's life you lost this turn, which is pretty cool. It's a 5/6 flying, so it can hit. But it's life you lost. You have to pay that X, so you're still having to pay that mana, right? So turn 5, presumably, you get this out. You're not making any tokens. The next turn, you're making tokens, things like that. So I think this is ultimately quite expensive. But if you can untap with this, I think this is a really cool effect. I love effects like this. I think this will, you know, I played for a while a Villas deck that I loved, but it was pretty strong. But there was just heaps of these lose life effects. And there's a lot of them that you could just find here or there. The issue is that you have to pay this mana. So what are you going to do on turn 6? You have, say, 7 mana access. You sign in blood, so you draw 2 cards. You lose 2. You have to keep 2 for your tokens. So that's 4 mana plus you say Knight's Whisper, just theoretically. And you tap your Thran portal for one of those, so you've lost 5 life, use 4 mana, have 3 left over. You can only make 3 tokens. Is 1 mana for a 2/2 token with menace good enough? Probably not. There are some warrior synergies, which is kind of nice. I think this is really cool. I'm going to try and build it, but ultimately I think that it's going to be super clunky because I need to have this out. You know, it's kind of, what is it? Well of Lost Dreams. Well of Lost Dreams is a cool card, but it makes cuts. Like, it gets cut because you need to sink more mana into it, right? It's 4 mana. Then you have to pay 1 to draw the card. So now you paid 5 mana for 1 card and you have to have gained life. So this is going to be very similar. Have to have lost life, but now you're getting tokens instead of cards. I think it's really cool. Really cool. I'm going to try and build it, but I think it might be clunky. Trezen the Infinite, 4/2 black, Necron, so artifact creature, Death Touch. 4/6, as long as it's on the battlefield, it has all activated abilities of all artifact cards in your graveyards. Fantastic. I mean, this card's really good, right? Absolutely crazy. You know, there's so many things that you can do with this, so many combinations that really just leads to infinite mana or whatever kind of win con you want. Buried Alive is absolutely crazy with this card, right? So you just need a Buried Alive 3 artifact creatures. And there's quite a few that will make a lot of tokens. This is your Necrotic Ooze in your command zone. You know, tapping for Soul Ring sounds fantastic. I guess the issue that you have is that you have to try to hopefully give it haste or have it wait a turn. Now, there are ways in artifacts and activate abilities to give your creatures haste. So the Drawbridge from Eldraine. Crashing Drawbridge. So, you know, there are ways, but you need to have like tap and then untap as Staff of Domination, things like that, right? Absolutely busted. I think a lot of people are going to build this, and a lot of people will move on from this after that rather quickly. So yeah, Imitate I like the most. I think it's the best kind of asking me, hey, build around me. And then Mortarion also to build around, and Trezen to kind of build around as well. But Trezen, you know, is quite Busterino in kind of the right configuration with lots of ramp and lots of artifacts. Obviously, I think the other three don't really ask me to build around them too much, but Necrons are cool. Okay, so rares, and I've also got uncommons in here because this commander set has uncommons. So Arco Flagellant, human, squad 2, can't block. I can pay 3 life and it gains indestructible on turn, and it's a 3/1, 2 and a black, and it's human. So squad essentially means kicker and you get a copy, right? Or multi-kicker, you get a copy. So for 5 mana, you get 2 of these 3/1s that can't block, that pay 3 life. You know, but do I care about a 3/1 indestructible that can't block? Probably not. Pay 3 life is actually the best part of it, right? So in a Villas deck, sounds fantastic. In your Mortarion deck, sounds like it could be something you use. Ultimately, I think that it just doesn't do enough, so I'd probably not really include it. Biotransference, 2 and 2 black. So creatures you control are artifacts in addition to their altar, same as for creature spells, and for creatures you own that aren't on the battlefield, so graveyard, exile. And whenever you cast an artifact spell, you lose 1 life and you create a 2/2 black Necron warrior. It's an interesting card, right? So in your Necron Imitate kind of deck, you are mainly playing artifact creatures. In your Tarzan, it's mainly artifacts, things like that. So maybe in your like Tarzan deck, this is cool because you're probably more interested in the second ability over the first one. The problem is the first one is creatures you control. You've probably already built your deck with artifacts in mind, so because you need the artifacts to cast the spells to get the second trigger, but then they become artifacts. So do you just like put this in a random deck where you care about tokens maybe? But then maybe I'd just rather play Bitter Blossom. I don't know. This is an interesting card. I think it's powerful. I'm interested to see if I would put this in a completely non-artifact deck. Is having them artifacts a downside? Losing 1 life and I'm creating a token. I think it's worth trying to build around and see where it goes. I think even in your Necron artifact creature decks, there will be some that you don't have as artifact creatures if you don't want to kind of go with the theme. So you might want them to also be artifacts, which is kind of cool. I really like Biotransference, so I'm going to play with it. Blight Grenade, 4 and a black, sorcery, destroy target creature, all creatures get -3/-3. Ultimately, a sorcery speed, destroy a creature, so sorcery speed, murder, and everything gets -3/-3. Not really a ability they're probably looking for. I mean, you're going to clear up, you know, hate bears or Llanowar elves and things like that, which is kind of nice. But 5 mana sorcery is a lot for that kind of effect. I would just rather, you know, mutilate something like that. I'd probably get that creature and all the Llanowar elves anyway. So I don't think I'd play it. You might obviously, you know, maybe not in mono black. I think in mono black you have more options, but you know, whatever. Chroniomancer, 2 and a black, 1/1, flying. Sacrifice another artifact, draw a card, and has unearth. Yeah, this is cool. This is cool. It's super cheap, which is nice. It's a pity that it's a tap and pay 1 effect. It is sacrifice an artifact to draw a card, but I think this is, yeah, it's kind of nice. You know, an extra card. It's an artifact creature for your Imitate. Yeah, it has unearth. It also works for Imitate, where it can kind of come back. And it has a cheap enough unearth cost that it's you know, semi-playable. I kind of like it. It's not going to be in a lot of decks, but it's a cool card. It's a cool card. Cryptek, 3 and a black, Necron, so artifact creature. All Necrons are just artifact creatures. Okay. 3/3. 1 and a black, tap, choose another target artifact creature you control. Whenever your creature dies this turn, returns to the battlefield tapped on your draw. So yeah, really cool. You know, you feign death kind of effects. It is tap and it's 2 black, and it is only artifact creature, so it works really well in the precon, I think. Outside of that, in mono black, you know, you're going to be hard one. So I think if you're building your Imitate, your Trezen the Infinite, just to kind of help protect it, you know, I think 3 and a black is probably a bit expensive, but you know, I think it's okay for a precon. Great Unclean One, 4 and a black, demon. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life. Then for each opponent who has less life than you, create a 1/3 black demon creature. Name, play, beggar, or noble. 4/5. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So you have to have the most life. So your opponent loses 2 life. You then have to have the most life. Then for each opponent who has life, create a thing. Right, so you want to get 3 1/3 demons. So I'm thinking maybe a Yara. A Yara might be cool. So you automatically get this lose 2 life. Your opponents lose 2 life. So that's nice, right? You don't have to work for it. And then you can get 3 tokens out of it if you have the most life. So yeah, a Yara, something where, you know, life is important. Yeah, even if you're not, then for each opponent who has less life than you. Yeah, so even if you're not, the problem is you are mono black. You are losing a lot of life. And people will, you know, people go against you, you know. It's often that you're the arch enemy. So knowing that you're going to be using life. So yeah, I think this could see play. I think 5 mana is a lot, but you get it straight away at the end step. I like it. I'm going to play with it. Locus, Heavy Destroyer, 1 and 3 black, flying. When it enters the battle for each player, sacrifice a creature and has unearth for 8, so 5 and 3 black. Crazy. So 3/2, everyone sacrifices a creature. In theory, you're going to sacrifice your Necron warrior. I mean, this effect already exists, but not really on an artifact creature. So it's kind of nice. It has unearth, but it's 8. That's crazy. Don't think I'm going to play it. Lichguard, 2 and a black Necron, 3 and a black to sacrifice it and return all legendary creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 2/3. Not really going to be in mono black per se, but if you are building your legendary tribal deck, this probably will go in it. I think 3 in the black is probably too expensive for this effect, but it is like any legendary creature in your graveyard. It's not like this turn, so it's kind of nice. And you can cast it and get them straight away. So, you know, you have 10 legendaries in your graveyard, 7 mana, draw 10 of your good legendaries. Maybe not. Probably that's a bit far-fetched and unrealistic, but I have been wanting to build a mono black legendaries tribal. So that would probably go in it, but it's not legendary. So yeah, interesting card. Mandate of Abaddon. 3 and a black, sorcery. Choose target creature you control. Destroy all creatures with power less than that creature's power. Very cool. Very cool, right? 4 mana. Nice sweet spot for a Wrath effect. You choose target creature you control. So, right, you have to have the biggest creature. And then destroy everyone that's less than that. So, as long as you think that you have the biggest creature, so Yargle maybe? Yargle Voltron, or my Corlash. I was thinking Corlash, but Yargle might be pretty cool. So I think this Mandate of Abaddon will fit into your Voltron decks, where it keeps your creature alive and destroys all others, and it's cheap enough. So I like it. Necron Deathmark, 3 and 2 black. Necron Flash, when it is battle, will destroy up to 1 target creature and target player mills 3 cards. As a 5/3. This card is awesome. Awesome. So it's 1 less than Noxious Gearhulk, which is also an artifact creature. It has Flash, and target player can mill, so in theory yourself, but of course it could be somebody else. Maybe they're Vampiric Tutored or something. And then after that resolves, you then play this, kill a creature, then mill whatever they tutored. Oh man, that would be fun. So yeah, I really like it. I think it's a cool effect. I don't know how often I'm going to be holding up 5 mana though. But in the late game, this is something that I could use. I really like the card. I think it's just a nice casual card. Necron Overlord, 2 and 2 black. Necron Noble, 2/5, so it has a big toughness. X and tap X, untapped artifacts you control. Target opponent loses X life. I think this one is interesting. I think it's just really for like board stalls and things like, you know, those Commander games where it's a bit sluggish. I think in the precons, this is kind of to help kind of start ending the game, where, you know, you've hit a wall. Untapped artifacts, so, you know, your artifacts are artifact creatures, which is great. But it is a target opponent loses X life. I think it's going to be a lot of mana. Like, how realistically are you going to pay X2? Like, realistically, come on, it's not really a great effect. But I'm sure when you're deck building, you think of, oh, X is going to be 10, you know. But in realistically, it's not going to be much. So ultimately, not a great card, but I think a fun card. That's cool. Noble's Conscription, 4 and a black. Instant. Put target creature from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control, then exile that player's graveyard. Interesting card. It's instant, nice. So 5 mana for this. It's an opponent's creature, so in theory, they have good creatures in their graveyard. Maybe not. I doubt it. And it comes in tapped, but it is instant, so that's okay. And then you exile the graveyard. So it's kind of like, I kind of think of like Zat's Wheel, where it's like a removal plus, no, Zat's Wheel is removal plus graveyard hate, which is kind of nice, but 5 mana, also very, like, you don't hold up 5 mana very often, right? I'd rather have Necron Deathmark than get my opponent's, Secure Tribe Scout or something like that, right? Like, sometimes you're going to get something huge. You can respond to Eldrazi Shuffle-In triggers. Yeah, it's a cool card. Probably wouldn't make a lot of lists. Out of the Tombs, 2 and a black. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Aeon counters on Out of the Tombs, and then mill cards equal to that number. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, instead return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. If you can't, you lose again. This is a super fun card. Ultimately, it's probably difficult to kind of really work out how good it is. It's probably not very good. It reminds me of like Phyrexian Arena. On turn 3, this might be good, right? But on turn 8, 10, it's really a dead draw, just like Phyrexian Arena. I like the cool effect of if you would draw a card and you have no cards and you can return a creature. Cool. I mean, it doesn't have Indestructible or Hexproof or anything like that, right? So it can be easily dealt with. It's a cool, fun, build-around card in your casual deck. That's it. Plague Drone, 3 and a black, flying, 3/3 demon. If an opponent would gain life, that player loses that much life instead. So it's just a Tainted Remedy, another one. I really can't find space for a Tainted Remedy kind of effect. Not in mono black. We're not giving opponents life. So it's not really something that we're utilizing, but it's cool. Tainted Remedy is oddly expensive. Poxwalkers, 2 and a black, a zombie, death touch, 3/1. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, return Poxwalker from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Really cool. So whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. Now this one is in the Chaos deck where it's got Cascade. Mono Black has Cascade now, which we'll chat about obviously further down. But yeah, anywhere from your hand. So Gravecrawler coming out from the graveyard, Unearth, Encores, Flashbacks, things like that, right? Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, right? So it can be anything, doesn't have to be a creature. So great for flashback. Yeah, casting copies, things like that. It's interesting. I think in mono black it's hard. It is a zombie. And there's a lot of times where we're returning we're casting creatures from the graveyard. So I think it's going to be harder in mono black than other colors. But ultimately a really cool card. Primaris Eliminator. So it enters the battlefield. So it's a 4 and a black Astartes Warrior. Enters the battlefield, choose 1, and it's 3/2. So you destroy target creature. It's the same as the Necron. What is it called? Necron Deathmark. Or creatures target a player controls gets -2/-2. So it's cool. You get to sweep the board a little bit of any kind of hate bear type creatures or destroy it. This one doesn't have flash unlike the other one, so it has that flexibility of it can do something if it's not needed. But -2/-2 is usually not an effect that I need too much. It's more destroy target creature. So I think, and it's a warrior, which is nice. It's not even a human. So although Astartes humanoids something, you like humans, I don't know. Yeah, so ultimately I think 5 mana probably not really that interesting. Royal Warden, 3 and 2 black. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 tapped Necron warrior tokens. Has Unearth and it's 3/2. This is cool. I think 5 mana up front for a 3/2 and 2/2 tap tokens is whatever, fine. Right, so this is great for your Nim Death Mantle combo decks where you're playing all those kind of something and make 2 tokens at the same time, so you can sacrifice them to Ashnod's Altar to do it again, right? And it has Unearth, which is nice, so if it gets milled or destroyed or something like that, you can do it again. Other than that, probably not going to see much play. I think it's just a little bit too much up front, and I don't really care about a 3/2 and 2/2s, unless it's Nim's Death Manaway. Shard of the Nightbringer, 5 and 3 black Catan, flying. When Shard of the Nightbringer enters the battlefield, if you cast it, target opponent loses half their life. Round it up, you gain life equal to that life lost this way, and it's 8/8. Yeah, so Catan are enslaved to the Necrons, and the ones that betrayed them to convince them to have their metallic bodies for immortality. As far as the way. Yeah, so cool. It's an 8 for 8. This only works if you cast it, right? So reanimation, bow. This kind of effect already exists. I'm not really looking for it. An 8/8 flying is kind of cool. Other than that, not really interested. Shard of the Void Dragon, 4 and 3 black Catan, flying. Whenever Shard of the Void Dragon attacks, each opponent sacrifices a non-land permanent. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, or is put into exile from the battlefield, put 2 counters on the 7/7. Right, so it's big boy. It annihilates for 1 for everyone. Kind of cool. This one I like better than the other one, but when an artifact goes, so when they crack their treasure, it becomes a 9/9. It's kind of cool. You can reanimate this one, which is better, right? So Entomb, Reanimate, have this on turn 2, start annihilating people. Sounds pretty cool to me. Yeah, I kind of dig it. I might try and play with it, but only in a reanimator kind of thing. Start annihilating people. But I think you generally have better targets. But I think it's a cool card. Skorpek, yep, Skorpek Lord, Necron Noble, Menace, it's a 3/2 for 2 and a black. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+0 and have Menace and 2 and a black. Cheap, I like it. It's, it's only 3 mana. It gives +1/+0 and Menace. It's kind of nice. It's okay. And it has a nice unearth. I think it's just nice and cheap. Cool little lord. Artifact creatures, so it really niche, really only works in this, and that's about it. Unless you're playing like Makar and you've got lots of vehicles because they're artifact creatures, I guess. So yeah, not really gonna see a lot of play, but it's kind of cool. Sloppity Ball Piper, nice. 3 and a black demon, so 3/3. So 2 and a tap, sacrifice a creature. Next creature spell you cast this turn has Cascade. Very cool, very cool. So Cascade was not originally available in black. You can do it through artifacts, obviously, but those artifacts are bad. So this is cool. It's Sacrifice Outlet, which is nice. It is next creature spell. I think this is just not going to make it in a lot of decks unless you just love the art, like you probably should. Yeah, it just doesn't fit in any themes really, but it's cool to have. It's a nice little Sacrifice Outlet. 2's a bit expensive and it's just a tap, but it's a fun card, and Cascade is a fun mechanic. Tallyman of Nurgle, 3 and a black, Astartes Warrior, lifelink, 2/3. At the beginning of your end step, if your creature died this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. If 7 or more creatures die this turn, you draw 7 and lose 7. This card is awesome. I love this card. So it's Phyrexian Arena, but you get your card first if a creature died, right? And it is the beginning of your end step. If a creature died this turn, right? So if you destroy someone else's creature on your turn, it's good, right? If they sacrifice on on your turn, good. And you'll get a card and lose life. So you really need to be sacrificing your own creatures. So Aristocrats, I see this in as a kind of like a Phyrexian Arena replacement, because Phyrexian Arena is an enchantment, right? It's not a creature in your creature sacrificing deck. So I think this is really cool. I think you board wipe and then play this in the late game and you just have Grizzlebrand. Sounds great, right? Yeah, I really like this card. It's cheap enough. It's just cheap enough. 3 and a black. If it was anything more than this, it might be a bit hard. But has lifelink, so you can get that life back. Sure. But I think it's really cool. Technomancer, 5 and 2 black, Necron Wizard. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 and return any number of artifact creatures with total mana value 6 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And it's a 5/1. It's kind of cool. So 6 or less, right? So you're going to hit any number. Say 2, 3 creatures for 7 mana. And it mills. It's not really something you're going to play early on. Something late. And you can sacrifice it, Malakir, Rebirth, kind of bring back more. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool card. I don't know how many lists it would make, though. And they're artifact creatures. Okay, they're artifact creatures. So really, it's only going to be this. These Necron kind of decks, unfortunately. But cool card. Their name is Death. 3 and 3 black. Destroy all non-artifact creatures. Sorcery. Pretty good, right? You're just going to play this in your Necron deck. Your artifact. Maybe in my, like Fane Broker. Maybe in my Braids deck. I might stick this in. Just because I have a lot of artifacts. But really, it's for this Necron deck. The numbers Legion, X and 4 black sorcery, create X tapped tokens, 2/2 tokens, and you gain life equal to your number of artifacts, then you exile it, but you may cast it from your graveyard, right? So if you mill it, you can cast it. If you cast it from your hand, you cast it. Both will end up in exile after that. And you gain life. I see people liking this card. I don't see it, right? It's 4 black and X. How many tokens do you need to get for this to be good? Like, okay, let's say we get 6 tokens. I paid 10 mana and I've gained at least 6 life, if not, in theory, more, right? So you might say 12 life. 6 tokens, 12 life, tapped, sorcery. The only thing that's good about this is that you can cast it from your graveyard, right? So if you mill it or it's discarded, you can still play it, which is nice. But it's so expensive. I don't really see ever playing this. It's a cool card. The War in Heaven. So that's when they fought the old ones, I believe. 3 and 3 black Saga, not with read ahead. You draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life. 6 mana, draw 3, lose 3, probably not good. Mill 3 cards, also not very good. Choose up to 3 target creatures with total mana value 8 or less. Return to the battlefield with a Necrodermis counter on it. Their artifacts in addition to their other types. So they're artifact creatures. You're probably already playing artifacts, but I guess you can play this not in that. In your general mill, like would you play this in like a Chainer deck? The problem is it's 6 mana, so turn 7, 8, 9. You're getting 8 mana worth of creatures from your graveyard that have to have been there. They have to be there. They cannot, have someone exile them. I think it's expensive. I think it's just a little bit too expensive. Maybe I play this at 5, but then you get 8 back. It's a cool card. It's probably a bit too expensive, I think. I really only care about the last one. The drawing is nice, but 6 mana to draw 3 cards. Like that's your whole turn in theory, and you've drawn 3 cards. Not really. 2 blade, 4 and 2 black flying. It's 5/4. When it deals damage to a player, that player loses life equal to the number of creatures they control unless they sacrifice a creature. And 6 and 2 black. I mean, Unearth, that Unearth is so expensive. So it's not really going to be a thing. 6 mana for a 5/4 flying, not really a thing. They may lose life or they sacrifice a creature, whatever. It's not really impacting the board too much. 3 and 2 black for a 4/5 Necron. At the beginning of your combat, on your turn, choose an opponent. Creatures attacking the last chosen player have menace. So you choose somebody, and everyone else has menace against that person until your next time you choose somebody. Pretty cool. 5 mana for a 4/5. Seems fun. And everyone gets menace against them. It's going to have the kind of like same curse effect where that person becomes the target. And if you are not playing that kind of, EDH game where, you don't want to target somebody unintentionally, well, it's not really going to make a lot of decks, I think. Venom Crawler, 3 and a black, lifelink demon, 2/2. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Venom Crawler. I mean, these effects exist and nobody plays them. So it's got lifelink, which is kind of nice. Flayed 1, 2 and a black Necron, lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards of 4/1. Cool power. It's going to be nice in your what's the commander's name? Oops. The Illuminous Ceres, that kind of deck, where it's a 4/1, you mill, sacrifice, you get 4 mana. So your upper mana, whatever, it's mill 3. 4 and 2 black, Necron Hexmark Destroyer. It can't be blocked except by 6 or more creatures. 6/6 and it unearths a 6. Not really interested in that. It's just beat up. Nurgle's Rod, 1 mana, enchant opponent's creature. When it dies, you get a token. And it returns to your hand, and you get a token. Okay. The 1/3 demon. You keep getting a token for 1 mana. Not really that good. The creature has to die. You're just getting the 1/3. Plasmancer, 2 and 2 black Necron, flying. When it enters battlefield, search your library for a basic, swamp, put it in your hand, then shuffle 3/3. It's too expensive just to get it in your hand. If you got it into the battlefield, it might have been different. Even then, it might be a bit too expensive. Ultimately, just draw a card. Skyscanner. One of those 1/1 for 3 manas also does the same thing. Whatever. Psychomancer. 1 and a black Necron Wizard, flying. Whenever it or another non-token artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield or is put into exile from the battlefield, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So it's Blood Artist for your artifacts. Very cool. Very cool. This one might actually make it outside of a Necron because it's non-token artifacts. So not treasures, But you know, when you're doing your junk diver kind of loops, this would be a win condition. So very cool, very cool. I think I'll see some play. Sanguinary Priests, 3 and a black, lifelink, Astartes Cleric for 2/4. Whenever another creature you control dies, Sanguinary Priest deals 1 damage to any target. So it deals the damage, so it's get lifelink, so you'll get lifelink, which is nice. But ultimately these effects already exist, and I see a bit of play. I like it. You put it in your cleric sacrifice deck, that's for sure. But sometimes I cut these kind of effects when they're this expensive. But this one has lifelink, which is kind of nice. Sortek Immortal, flash 2/2. When it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter for each creature that died this turn. These 3 mana flash, there's a whole bunch of them. It's when you get something for how many creatures died. They just don't really see a lot of play. I never seem to kind of want to go for them. It's just a big beater. Scorpek Destroyer, 2 and 2 black, Necron, Death Touch. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gets first strike, and it's 4/2. Just a beater. Not doing much. Triarch Praetorian, 1 and a black, Necron, flying. When it enters the battlefield from a graveyard, you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. And it has unearth for 4 and a black, and it's 2/1. Right, so it's a 2/1 flying that does nothing, and then it comes back, and you'll Night Whisper yourself. It has unearth, so 5 mana to Night Whisper, get a 2/1. No, but this would be cool if you are doing like Living Death, and you just get everything back. Sounds fun. Ultimately too expensive, I think, for the unearth. Okay, artifacts. So there are some obviously artifacts, just plain non-black ones that I thought we could go through as well. So Canoptech Scarab Swarm, 4 mana flying. When it enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. For each artifact or land exile this way, create a 1/1 colorless insect with flying. That's a 1/1. How many lands and artifacts do you need to sacrifice to have this work? Right? How many do you need? 4 mana for 8. 7 tokens, so you have 8 of them. 6. It's 4 mana for 6. Good. They have to have 6 lands and or artifacts for it to just be okay. Are you looking for insect tokens with flying? Maybe in a tokens deck. Maybe. Probably not though, right? You're relying on what your opponents have, but it is exile hate, which is nice. Canoptech Spider. It is Spider, 4/4 for 5. Flying spiders, cool. Whenever another non-token artifact, creature, or vehicle enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This card's really cool. It's really pity that it's 5 mana. It's quite expensive, but in your artifact creature deck or your vehicles deck, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's just when it enters the battlefield, you just draw a card, right? It's just going to replace. So it's not quite like what's the 2/3 elf? I can't remember the name. Where you play a creature, you get a card, kind of like that, but probably more niche and a bit more expensive. But it is colorless. Canoptech Tomb Sentinel, 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield from a graveyard, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent, and unearth for 7. It's 4/3. Right. So when you play it, it does nothing. When it comes back for 7 mana, so Meteor Golem, it exiles, which is a bit better than Meteor Golem, but it has to come from the graveyard. I mean, you jump through too many hoops, and you wouldn't even play Meteor Golem anyway. So yeah, Canoptech Wraith, 3 mana for Wraith. It can't be blocked. Whenever it deals combat damage, you pay 3 and sacrifice it. You search for 2 basic lands with the same name, and you put them on the battlefield tab. It's 2/1. So it's Burnished Heart, but you have to deal damage. So you have to wait till next turn. Deal 2 damage. Can't be blocked, so realistically, no one's really going to kill this thing. And then you can sacrifice it when it's done damage. Not really. I mean, how many decks are playing Burnished Heart? And then I'd probably just pay that over this, right? But the art is really cool, and that's the important part. Convergence of Dominion, 3 mana for an artifact, so not a creature. As long as you control your commander activate abilities of cards in your graveyard cost 2 less to activate, this effect can't reduce the mana of this ability's activation cost by less than 1 mana, and you can pay 3 to mill. This is cool. This is really cool. Training grounds for artifacts. You have to have your commander though. This is for your Trezen decks and things like that. Cool card. I think it's going to find a little bit of niche play. That's about it. Crypto Thrower 4 mana for a construct, not a Necron. 3/3. Other artifact creatures you control have hexproof. Really good in your Necron deck. That's about it. But really cool. I like it. All other creatures getting hexproof, great. Ghost Arc. It's a vehicle. 3/3 for 4. When it becomes crewed, each artifact creature card in your graveyard gains Unearth for 3 until end turn, and it crews 2, right? So you want to crew this, then get your Canoptech Tomb Sentinel to come out for 3 mana. That's the goal. Having Unearth for 3 is kind of nice. It has to be a mill deck, and that's it. This Necron deck and a mill deck. Inquisitional Rosette. 2 mana. When equipped creature attacks, you get a token warrior, Stardy's warrior with vigilance that's attacking. Then attacking creatures gain menace. So it's menace, vigilance, but it will be tapped. Oh no, this attacking. Okay, with vigilance and menace, and yeah, it costs 3 for 1 token. I think you have to care about warriors. Ultimately, I think it's too expensive. I think the equip cost is a little bit too expensive. Night Paladin 5 trample 6/6 vehicle. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 4 damage to each opponent, and it's crew 1. Super cheap to crew, but all it's doing is kind of burning your opponents. It has trample. It's a cool card. I like it. But ultimately, you're probably not going to find a slot for it. Necron Monolith, 7 mana, vehicle, flying, indestructible. 7/7, crew 4. When it attacks, mill 3. Then for each creature card milled this way, you create a Necron warrior, right? So 1 token, maybe, out of your 3. Then you get 7/7 indestructible flying. Probably not that great. Reaver Titan 7 for 10/10. It has protection from mana value less than 3 or 3 or less. It deals 5 damage to each opponent, so kind of like Night Paladin. And crew 4. So crew's a little bit more. It has a bit of protection, but it's a little bit more expensive. I wouldn't play Night Paladin. I probably wouldn't play this. Redemptor Dreadnought 5. Stardy's Dreadnought. So this one's a creature. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. Trample. When it attacks, if a card exiled with it. If a card is exiled with it, it gets +1 +X, where X is the power of this card. Kind of cool. You might put this in like your Imitate deck, because you're going to exile that creature card. And then this attacks. But you have to wait for it to attack. Ultimately, probably not that great. Resurrection Orb 2. Creature has 2 mana, so creature has lifelink. When creature dies, return the card to the battlefield under your owner's control at the beginning of your next end step and equip 4. Really like this effect. I don't like the equip cost. I think the equip cost is probably too expensive, but really cool. Lifelink, so you're getting some life, you're encouraging to attack, and then it's just going to come back in the next end step. Cool. Too expensive for a quick cost, so if you can get around that. I know my Corlash deck is playing that 1/3 that taps and allows me to equip, so that might be cool. I might play with it. Scepter of Eternal Glory, 4 mana. For a legendary artifact, add 1 mana of any color, or add 3 of any one color. Activate only if you control 3 or more lands with the same name, right? So in Mono Black, we're going to play a lot of swamps. So if you have 3 swamps, this will tap for 3. It's then a Hedron Archive that taps for black, or presumably other colors. I mean, Avinox kind of sometimes always wanted some different colors, just in case you're getting someone else's creature that had an activated cost that you couldn't pay for. So that's kind of cool. I think, probably going to play this over. No, not Hedron Archive. Threat and Dynamite, sorry. Threat and Dynamite. Yeah. Cool card. But I don't really play Threat and Dynamo. But you get to have black, but presumably you've already paid for black for this, so it's not really going to color fix you. Don't know. Well, the Golden Throne, 4 mana. If you would lose a game, instead exile this, and your life total is 1. Sacrifice a creature, add 3 mana of any combination of colors. The first one is a bit of flavor text. It's kind of cool. You die and then you just die again. Then you pay nothing. You just tap, sacrifice a creature, gain 3 mana on a 4 mana artifact to tap it once. Gaining 3 mana. So I sacrifice my Necron token. Gain 3 mana. Cost 4. Interesting. Cool sack outlet, but it only taps. It taps, so it's a bit. But 3 mana is kind of nice. I like it. I think it's worth at least testing. Thunderhawk Gunship, flying vehicle, 6/6, crew 2. When it enters, create 2 token, 2/2 white start these warriors tokens with vigilance. When it attacks creatures attacking you, gain flying. Cool. So when it enters the battlefield, it creates things that can crew it, and then everything else is flying. I like it. It's kind of cool. 6 mana though. 6 mana, 6/6 that just beats and makes a couple tokens. Whatever. Tomb Fortress. So the only land in this set that we can play, or new land, I guess. Tomb Fortress enters the battlefield tapped. It taps for black, and it's 2 and 3 black to exile it, mill 4 cards, and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. So this effect already exists on Port of Carfell, I think it's called, but that one is Demir colors. It is 1 more expensive than this. So this is 1 cheaper. I think it's interesting. I think it might just be a little bit too expensive because it's essentially 5 and exiling this land. I think it's just 1 too expensive. It comes in tapped. That's also the big problem. I will put this in casual fun decks for sure and be happy with it. As one of my few like this and Bajuka Bog. I don't want too many more tap lands than that. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be fun. I think this would just slot. I think Swamp is more powerful than this, but very cool. Goliath Truck, 4 mana for a 4/4 vehicle, crew 2. When it attacks, put 2 counters on target attacking creature. Whatever, just makes things big. Night Scythe, 3 mana, 3/1, crew 2 for a vehicle. It's flying. Enters battlefield, create a 2/2 Necron artifact. So it creates, again, the token that crews it. Really not very good. Very cool art. Okay. So that is the set. I think most people are going to play Trezen the Infinite. I think Henrika the Traveler is really powerful. I think Imitate asked me to build around, and Mortarion asked me to build around, so I'm going to try and build those 2. I am struggling with Imitate at the moment, but I haven't started Mortarion, so I'll have a look. I think the other's not too interesting. In terms of some of these rares, Biotransference I think might be just sleeper good, and people are just not really going to try it, but they probably should give it a go. And then I think Mandate of Abaddon is going to be nice. Necron Deathmark is going to be great for casually. Poxwalkers is going to be a really interesting card. Shard of the Void Dragon is probably bad, but the art is fantastic. Tallyman of Nurgle might actually be the best card out of this. Their Name is Death is pretty good. And yeah, that's about it. I think Sciomancer's decent. And then for artifacts, I probably think that none of these are good. Crypto Thrall is pretty decent. Yeah. I'm going to try the Golden Throne and Scepter of Eternal Glory, that's for sure. Yeah, so cool. Very cool set. Love the theme, love the flavor. Big Warhammer fan, but not really 40K, so it's kind of, started to tickle that thing. During COVID, I got miniatures to paint for Warhammer as kind of like a lockdown project. So, that was fun. I was always a Vampire Counts player for fantasy. So yeah, cool set, lots of fun mechanics. Necrons are very cool, and it's great to have a mono black precon that I have already pre-purchased, and I'm just going to keep it as is, and then maybe I might have to buy another one to pilfer for some singles. So I'm going to try to avoid, but let's see. I'll see how I feel once I've actually started playing with the deck. But yeah, thank you for the video. This was a long one. So many cards to go through. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks.